Alright, hey everybody here. This is Phoenix Flight again with another replay review featuring J Papa on the blue side as a giant specialist going up against Barbarian, an elite specialist. And this was submitted to the Mechabellum Discord asking for some feedback from higher level players. So for context here, J Papa has only been playing for a few days, but has already made it up to 820 MMR. So we're going to review this game, give some feedback, and see if we can all learn a thing or two from here. So we're starting out as Giant Spesh with Fangs, Storms, and Marksman. Pretty balanced combination to start. The only real thing that's missing is Chaff Clear, but we can address that next round. Main questions that were posed here by Mr. J Papa. Was just wondering really how to handle some of the early engagements in the early rounds and just general feedback looking to optimize strategy. So yeah, level 2 crawlers are going to be a problem round 1 when there is not much chaff clear. So not much to say about that. Okay, so first cards of the game here, the opponent is going to skip. Not interested in any of those, it seems. What about J Papa though? So none of these are like really standout amazing currently, especially in the early game. Assault Melting Point, I'm definitely not a fan, especially because the enemy here we know has steel balls, which would be currently the best counter to a melting point, which could come down early as a giant specialist. Essentially, Assault Melting Point is really best if you're an aggro player or you're defending against an aggro player. So, not really good in a standard versus standard matchup because one of the weaknesses of these steel balls here is their short range. So if we have a melter that isn't an assault melter and just has long range, we can exploit that weakness by targeting them from significantly further out. Okay, so we're going more Stormcallers. This is not an optimal choice, just because we have Crawlers and Balls as the primary units so far, and they are very speedy. They will dodge many of the shots, and the enemy is already respecting the Stormcallers with one of the missile devices to reduce their impact. And then I guess sort of another thing to acknowledge is with the Stormcallers here and here, if the enemy places a flank down later with crawlers, let's say, they'll fire over there, and let's say you have flame callers at that point, it'll cause flames to pool up over here, and if you have backline chaff, they'll just run right into it. So something to be cognizant of when you place your Stormcallers right about here and here. But yeah, not much to say about round 2. You know, the Stormcallers were not the ideal response to this situation. Okay, we are going into round 3 here. Okay, it's got Barrier, Rhino, Assault, Mobile Beacon, Photon. Yeah, Barrier is pretty much the obvious choice. You know, you're a giant specialist, it's a giant item. Enemy goes for the Photon coating. Pretty interesting from the opponent to put the Mustangs out wide like this. The traditional strategy is the Ballstang strat, where we put Mustangs right behind Steel Balls, just so that the Steel Balls are tanky and eating a lot of damage, while the Mustangs behind are clearing out the chaff for the Steel Balls. I like the Vulcan, especially as Giant Specialist. Pretty obvious. And then we now built more chaff, so that is certainly an upgrade from the prior game that was reviewed, which no chaff was built at all. However, the Vulcan going behind the Stormcallers is a bit of a problem, just given the fact that the Vulcan is shorter range than the Stormcallers, so it needs to walk through them, and that slows it down. And also the fact that the Vulcan, as the tankier unit, should be in front of the of the Stormcallers, eating up a lot of the little shots so that the storms can stay around longer. And also curious to not use the barrier item. I'm not sure why we picked that up if we're not going to use it here. Unless the plan is to use it on a different giant, but a Vulcan benefits pretty greatly from a barrier. So, okay, round 4 here. Okay, Melters, Scorpion, Sledge, Wraith. Okay, I love the Scorpion pick here. Balls get countered very strongly by Scorpion. I'm not liking it behind the Stormcallers, just given the fact that, again, similar to the Vulcan, as it being a shorter range unit than the Stormcallers, it needs to go through them, it slows them down. And then the Scorpion needs to be in front, taking the weak shots from these lower damage units to help protect the Stormcallers. Leveling the Stormcallers, especially in the early game here, is dangerous, just because, yeah, as we can see it, the enemy is already, we already know the enemy is respecting the Stormcallers, so he's doubling down on that respect by going Missile Interceptor. So now you have level 2 rockets that aren't going to land nearly as often. Enemy doing a great play, putting some crawlers up the middle to really pull everything to the middle, so then the wings come in with significantly less force to deal with. Yep, so because of that, that little pull of the middle really opened a lot of this up. It's helping the steel balls get in and cause a lot of trouble. There we go, the tower goes down. And this should be a pretty straightforward win for your opponent. I will say, though, I typically wouldn't want to go anti-missile on Mustangs as with level 2, but there's really not much you can do if you're the red player as an elite specialist. Okay, going into round 5. Lightning's... Alright. Well, Senior Man is pretty much the obvious choice. You're a giant specialist. You're going to build giants. Let's reduce the cost of those giants throughout the game. Let's... ooh. Okay. Assault Scorpion is a mistake, especially because look how short his range is now after doing that. Like I was saying earlier about Assault Melting Point, the same sort of logic applies. When we're in a standard versus standard matchup like this, we really need to be careful when it comes to any card that decreases range. So we can see here, it decreases range by 30 meters, which is very, very significant. So I would not have selected that. I would have absolutely gone Senior Manufacturing. You would be building more giants anyway. I love the range on the Vulcans. It keeps them further back, keeps them safer. It gets them shooting earlier as well. Yep. Let's see. So what are we going to do with our last 50 here? Ooh, I don't like taking a loan this early, especially to just upgrade a Vulcan and a Marksman. So leveling the Vulcan isn't really that important this early on. They're killing all the chaff pretty quickly. I think some late arriving chaffs, like some crawlers in the back, would have made a much better impact. As now all the fangs are dead, now the steel balls are getting in. And you're doing a good job dealing with his crawlers. You have good chaff clear, which should be expected when you have multiple Vulcans, but you're not able to get to the Mustangs fast enough, and that's really stymieing the Stormcallers currently. And the reason why is you don't have enough chaff. I mean, you do have some things. It's a big upgrade over the game the other day. But, you know, as you climb MMR, the chaff becomes more and more important. You know, we need late arrivers, so ideally the moment the fangs are dying off, we have crawlers coming in to replace them and continue the distraction for longer. Let's see, are we going to be able to steal this round? Oh, Hero Stormcaller? Oh, because he's a level 2 Stormcaller. Okay. But can the Mustangs stop this? It's just one. Looks like it's just barely going to be enough. All right, we steal the round. All right, going into round 6 with 100 fewer supplies. Let's take a look at these units. Let me pause this, please. Getting used to the new replay system. Okay. Not liking the sandworm with all the scorpions and steel balls on the field. Arc lights I kind of like, especially if you can put them out wide like this to cover areas that your Vulcans are struggling with. So the arc lights wide can hit these Mustangs earlier and help get your Stormcallers back into the game a little bit faster. So that is certainly an option. Melter is almost always a good option, especially, you know, if you're a giant specialist, you're going to be building them, especially going into the late game. And then if you can outrange, as you see, the opponent also went Assault Scorpion, so they have really short range. So what you could do is go Melter and then give it range, and they can counter the Scorpions, shockingly, even though it's typically done the other way around. Wraith would be an interesting pick. I would like Wraith only if you do run armor on Wraith. Yeah, you do. So you do run armor enhancement. So if you get armor enhancement on a Wraith, it would get all these Mustangs stuck on the level 3 Wraith. They couldn't do any damage to it. And if they're stuck on the Wraith, they can't shoot down missiles. So it'd get your Stormcallers back in the game. Okay, so we're going for a Wraith. I'm not a fan of putting it in the back, because, I mean, look how short range the Wraiths are, right? So it's going to take a while for it to start making an impact. Level 1 Wraith is not going to do much. I mean, obviously you don't know about the Melters yet, but they are a great counter to the donuts. Okay, dude. Looks like we have 350 left to spend here. Going for oil. Okay. Okay, I like this. You have the Vulcan right here ready to set the oil on fire. It kills all the chaff in front, the Mustangs that come up later. You can absolutely get some momentum with a nice tempo win. And yeah, going long, ticking up the attack, just one of those early on for some long-term additional power is fine. Let's see, we're going to be learn that play nicely. Melting all these Mustangs, so now the Stormcallers can get back into the game. But there's fewer AM devices. It looks like it's just the Melters are just a little too tanky for what you have to deal with right now, it seems. So despite killing off all that chaff, it looks like you're not going to win this round, unfortunately. So certainly not ideal to lose a round when we go for a tempo play like that, but we can still bounce back. All right, 7th round. All right, for you, I would say only the portable shield really has any merit. The others don't really do much for you, because the other 3 are getting countered pretty heavily by what the enemy already has. But the Phoenix is going down to the Mustangs, Battleship going down to Mustangs, and Melter. Okay, we're going for the boat. Ooh. Okay, so we're dropping the boat right in the middle here with with the Melters that will directly counter it. So it's going to go right into these guys. So, I mean, if you are going to do the boat, you would want to put it away from what it's countering, right? So you could probably, you know, play it in the back corner. You could try like a sneaky flank play just to pull these Mustangs away for a bit, and then that'll let some of these Stormcallers get back in the game. Or obviously on the opposite side too. So yeah, the boat's not my favorite pick, but it could work if it's done properly. But I think this is a mistake to put it there. Plus, portable shield would have been really nice on either one of the Scorpions or the Vulcan. to give a high health unit more health. Okay, I love going into Scorching Fire here. I don't like the Degeneration Beam. I mean, like, let's look at this Wraith, right? This is a level 3 Wraith. It had 1 kill last round. This isn't doing much for you. If you didn't upgrade, if you didn't give it a tech, I would have considered selling it and using that money on something else. But, alright, we're believing in the Wraiths. We're going for the tech. If we want to get value out of Degen Beam, we need to keep it alive. And then going for another Scorpion. And we keep it alive by distracting the Melters and taking out the Mustangs. Double shot. I mean, it's okay. It's definitely not my favorite to help deal with the enemy Scorpions and the Melters. But the fact is, like, look how... See, these Scorpions, they're so short range, they have to go way up in front. You know, that's kind of why these guys are dying so fast. If these were not Assault Scorpions, they would have been doing much better. Now, this is why we only do Assault Scorpions, or Assault anything, when it's a situation where range doesn't matter, which would be either playing aggro or defending aggro. And yeah, the boat didn't do much there, as anticipated. Okay, going into the 8th round here. Okay, Photon, not really. Oh, okay. Oh, both quickly going for the Elite Crawler. I love Elite Crawler if it can be placed properly, because when these Mustangs are shooting down the rockets, they're not killing Chaff, right? So that allows crawlers that come in. Okay, we're building the crawlers. Sweet. Now it's going to come down to be putting them in the back. I'm liking that. I'd prefer the back corners here. I'd prefer something like here and here. Not just because the enemy's flanking with them, but the fact that... Oh man, there's a lot going on. Not just the fact the enemy's flanking with them, but just the fact that it not only discourages the flanks, but also helps them come in super late. As once these fangs are dying off, that's when these guys just start showing up to replace them. So a triple crawler, I would go like here, here, here. And then you're doing much better in the Chaff game at that point. Also, taking a loan. I like this loan. You're at 149 health. You got to push every single round to try to force a win at this point. You just got to go one more round. Economy be damned at this point. Okay. Oh, nice. You placed these guys right here. Pretty close. I mean, I like it all the way in the back, but that's more personal preference, really. Yeah, obviously these guys will do a great job countering these. Oh, impact drill? Impact drill is interesting. If it works amazing. If it doesn't work, it flops pretty horribly. Because impact drill only does anything once the crawlers get to their targets. Also, I like picking up the defense upgrade that helps in the crawler 1v1s, given opponent here has not done either of those, so your crawlers will always do better than his crawlers. For the elite crawlers, that is. Alright. Let's see if these elite crawl... Alright, the fangs are dead. Now the elite crawlers are coming in for another wave of distraction coming in from the wings where they were weakened. And what do you know? They're swarming these units. Alright, this is an instance where you were able to get rid of the chaff clear fast enough to allow impact drill to really, no pun intended, make an impact. So you should be able to steal this round. Really depends on what the deal is with this melter here. Let's speed it up. Yeah, with the tower debuff and some storms with no AMs left, you should be able to take this. Alright, live to fight another round. round number 9. Okay, so mass-produced Wraith would be a horrible, horrible pick. It would just debuff your current Wraiths. Junior Man, too late in the game for it. Absorb module would make the most sense on like a... Okay, we're going to go Amp Core. Amp Core on the Vulcan, great play. This Vulcan is getting some work done, especially with the Scorching Fire. It really benefits actually from the additional damage as well. So I think this, if it's not the optimal play, it's very close. I love this play, putting the Amp Core on that level 3 Vulcan. Replicate, well, after seeing Impact Drill do its work last time, unless the enemy goes into Vulcans of his own, the Replicate's going to make a huge, huge difference. It depends on just how much is he going to respect your crawlers. I like the... And you know what? When you're at 149 health and the enemy's at 3,000 health, you have to roll the dice. You have to try something risky, even if it's not necessarily ideal. So I like the Replicate in this situation for sure. And then you also put crawlers right there. Yep, they're going to feed into them. You have these upgrades, like I said. You're taking a loan, which, yeah, when your back's against the wall, take a loan every round. You should absolutely win the crawler duel because of the Impact Drill and the additional defense and attack from these. So you'll make more crawlers from his crawlers, create even more chaff. This is looking good. Okay. Range on the Scorpions, I like it. It mitigates their biggest flaw with going Assault Scorpion. Their range isn't great still, but it's a lot better than what it was. And as we saw earlier, they were dying because their range wasn't good enough. Though I do want to note at this point in the game, before we go any more forward, when you're doing a standard versus standard game like this, in the late game, like around 7 or 8 or so, definitely 9 onwards, we need to budget 100 credits every single round for the rest of the game for this enhanced range card. Just because at this point there are enough units on the field where this makes a significant difference between winning and losing. Looks like you're getting away with it given... Looks like, yeah, the opponent did not go for it either. But we'll see here, the crawlers in the corners are going to generate plenty of additional level 1 crawlers. They're going to come in and distract the Mustangs. That'll let the Stormcallers get back into the game. And then the Vulcans, especially this one with the Amp Core, are doing a great job at melting all those Mustangs. So yeah, now your units are working harmoniously. I mean, we should have done the late crawlers earlier, but like, look at this. Look how distracted these melters are. You know, they can't do anything when they've got a shit ton of crawlers at their feet. So this should be an absolutely steamrolling win for you to steal all the momentum back. 3,080 down to 40. Oh man, just a few more crawlers is the difference between life and death. All right, round 10. I would assume this is the last round, I would imagine, unless it's one of the closest games ever. So for these options here, what's really standing out to me is I personally like either the Arclights or the Wasps. I would like the Arclights maybe wide like this because your chaff clear has a hole right now on the wings. Like you have great chaff clear up the middle with these Vulcans, but we don't have anything on the sides to deal with these Mustangs and these Mustangs quickly and efficiently. So one solution could be just taking those Arclights and letting them deal with the Mustangs quickly. Wasps, just because I know there's a shit ton of Mustangs, but if you put Wasps of your own way in the back, that could be anticipating the enemy also picking Wasps, just given that your Fangs are dying just as chaff. They're not staying around long enough to really defend against Wasps. And the Wraiths, the level 3 one would do well, but the others would probably struggle at dealing with that many Wasps. But let's see what you go with. Also, your oil is back, so we could do another oil play if we want and really ought to. I mean, this is... Oh, okay, so you go for the War Factory. I don't think it's necessarily a bad play per se, just because you are putting it away from the melters and the scorpions. Okay, so we're going range and launcher overload. So you're using it as like a combat factory, and we're going to put another one on the opposite flank. Okay, I like this. If you're going to do War Factory, this is the way to do it. Okay, we're out of money, but yep, we take a loan at the right time. Upgrade a Vulcan. Now we're out of cash. Okay, so the only one thing I kind of mentioned earlier, the oil we had to check. It was off cooldown. We could use it right here, where one of the Vulcans could set it on fire and make this a much easier battle. But alas, here we go. So yeah, at this point, the crawlers in the back are doing an amazing job. Okay, so he did go for the wasps, but... Okay, so this actually worked out really well. The wasps got stuck on your war factories, and that let the wraiths come in to eliminate the wasps. So, and now, oh man, once the crawlers get on the melters, that's when you know it's pretty much GG. That should just about do it. Okay. Wow, so you were on the brink of death and you were able to bring it back. Nicely done, J Papa. Well done. So I would say some of the key takeaways from this one is similar to last game, Chaff did a lot better this time. Certainly got gifted with the elite crawler card. We should have had crawlers back here earlier in the game, but we got there eventually. The other thing, in the late game, temp range, in a standard versus standard game, the extra 15 meters across all of these units makes a massive difference for only 100 credits. So we should have gotten that. A little bit of placement issues here that can get cleaned up with, you know, like the Stormcaller should be near the back. We should have the Giants in front of them, other than maybe Melters. Then the Scorps, given how short range the Assault Scorps are, should have been in front of them. And then in front of all those would be the Chaff of like the first row of Fangs. So this isn't bad per se. It's just, let's just say, an inefficiency that could get optimized. I'm not going to make a huge deal about it. And the other thing about range, like we were saying earlier, acknowledging the range reduction from these cards in the standard versus standard game. These Scorpions, I anticipate, would have had a much better game if the Assault Scorpion card was never picked. Because in those earlier rounds, they were going way up in the front, getting targeted by enemy Scorpions, enemy Melters, and dying relatively quickly, and not able to complete their missions. And then the only other minor thing, at least from what I could tell, is except in the last round where we're putting these war factories on the sides here, we were like very centralized, and that allowed the enemy who was coming in on the wings to have a relatively easy go at the target with the towers. So just don't get tunnel vision on the middle per se. Just acknowledge what's going on the far left and far right as well. So very well played. Nicely done, J Papa. Just for entertainment purposes, let's just see, could I have won the game here as Barbarian? So I need to do 150 damage because he's at 149 right now. And then I'm not going to cheese it. Like, I'm not going to place the perfect melters knowing exactly where your war factories were going. And I'm going to play this as if this was really me and I'm in this situation as best as I can here, just hypothetically. So, just thinking for a moment here. probably go the Wasps. And do I want to flank with them? No, given all the fangs. So I'm going to put them way in the back. This might be a learning here. Let's see if temporary range makes a massive difference. Also, the enemy didn't go for these. They should have gone for those by now. Melters. Let's see, man, he's got so much money this late in the game. Let's upgrade you. Chaff clear's doing fine. Oh, wow. We need range on the Mustangs. What are we doing by not having range this late in the game? Then gonna try to counter, or no, I can't really counter replicate. Let's go another melter. I'm running out of time, so just temp speed and a shield. May not be, it's not perfect by any means, but let's just see. This is the primary lesson from this one is let's see if the temporary range on the opponent's side makes enough of a difference to swing the game the opposite way. Let's see, with the Wasps coming in late, they're distracting. Yeah, but might just be just a few too many crawlers to deal with here. Nope, oh, melters are getting on the war factories. Oh man, but those crawlers are getting in too. This is interesting. But the melter doesn't really care about the debuff. Yep, so even with unoptimal placement of those final units, I clearly got over the 150, right? You know, that was over 1,000 damage, right? A lot of that comes from the enhanced range and high speed in the last round. So hopefully that's one last lesson for this video. In the late game, take advantage of these. For 150 credits in the late game is hardly anything, and it impacts all of your units simultaneously. So please, please use this around round 7-ish or later. All right. Well, hope you learned a lot from that. Thank you for submitting J Papa. I am more than willing to review replays on the Mechabellum Discord for anybody who wants to take their game to the next level. Thank you for watching. Keep having fun with Mechabellum. Keep making mistakes. Keep asking questions, and have a good time. Thank you. Bye.